Hi, good afternoon. My name is Diego Pavon, and I will have the pleasure of being the moderator of this discussion table, where we will talk about the death penalty in Mexico. I have the pleasure to introducing you the members of the debate, Jorge Rodriguez and Mauricio Montoya, who are in favor of the death penalty in Mexico, and Carol Stefani and Rodrigo Mejia, who are against this procedure. The rules of this debate will be very simple. We will start with Jorge Rodriguez, who will give us some context of this procedure in Mexico and some history, and then we will continue with the person on the other team, on the other who are against, who wants to answer to against Jorge's arguments. And from there, we will continue in a fluid way with the person who wants the answer to the arguments of the other team. Also, throughout the debate, there will be scheduled breaks to ask a question to the members of the debate of the table, where they will have some time to answer this question. So, Jorge Rodriguez, you can start now.
Thank you, Diego. Well, as you know, Mexico is a beautiful country with great landmarks, unique food, and very hardworking people. But in the other end, Mexico heads the top of the list in crime organization and violence. We all know that practically Mexico is run by drug lords that are unpunished with all the things and crimes that they have done. And they are bringing the worst to our country and to other countries too. Just in 2020, Mexico reported more than 17,000 deaths by organized crime, and this is a very high number, one that exceeds the numbers of 2000 from 2010 to the present. So this is a problem. We haven't done anything to eliminate it, and we need answers now.
Okay, so first, one of my arguments are the death penalties are supposed to be imposed in Mexico. And the reason being that, as stated, most of the drug cartels leaders or activists or part of the group are left unpunished. And well, as Professor David Muhasaisen from the Heritage Foundation has stated that some crimes are so heinous and inherently wrong that they demand strict penalties. And the studies show that majority of students that the majority of studies that track effects over many years across the United States find a deterrent effect, which this means that a ratio of one execution correlates to 74 fewer murders the following year, as a source from the article of the Wall Street Journal using FBI available information. So life is in prison is less feared, and murder is clearly preferred to an execution. Otherwise, they will not try to be sentenced to life in prison instead of death. And this is the only case in which this method actually helps, because it can be considered a little inhumane. And another important point is that it is used as retribution. Imagine your son being murdered in the street, or your mother or your grandma, and you want the criminal to pay, but most of the times in Mexico, if for each 100 cases of murder, only 5 of them found the accused guilty, which is why the deterrent effect is important. From 2010 to 2016, more than 150,000 people were murdered, and 94.8 of the cases were not sentenced. And as a family member, you feel frustrated because you want the person to pay for what they did to your loved one. And it is confused with revenge, because vengeance signifies inflicting harm on the other out of anger because of what he has done. Retribution is the rationally supported theory that the criminal deserves a punishment fitting the gravity of his crime. In this case, a life for a life, as historic has that been. And That's why I think that it should be legalized in Mexico because it is important for the crime to stop, and since it has a very good deterrent effect, it is needed to this country.
Very good, Mauricio. So let me ask you a question. Do you think that this procedure, the death penalty, will help the familiars from the victims to, in a kind of way, to solve their frustration to the to the victims
Can
Well,
I
of
yeah.
the
answer that?
crime? Yeah, you can answer, Jorge.
Well, if you want to answer, Jorge, yeah.
Well, I think both of us can answer it. You can
Yeah.
go first if you want.
Okay, so I think that it's important because in most cases, the guilty as suspect is set free because of illegal procedures or because not enough evidence has been found. And in other cases, the ones that do go from those 100 cases, just the 5 of them, most of the time they are set free on parole or and everything, and they don't have a severe sentence. Which, as a family member, I can uh, intuit that it is hard on the family because imagine the murder of your son being set free and not having to pay for what he has done. Like for you, it ruined your entire family and your entire life. And him being set free and not atoning for what he has done and not even repenting on it, it's really soul consuming, I would think so. So I think it's important for the family members to be in the entire aspect of the case, and they do find a relief knowing that they will pay for what they have done.
Yeah, thank you, Mao.
Well,
I totally understand your point. I think it's very good argument. So Jorge, you want to answer? So
Yeah. For what you were saying, I think it won't bring happiness to the families. Uh, I think that it just will bring justice. I think the people from this country deserves only that. It will not bring them relief, peace, but justice is the next step for us because bureaucracy runs this country. Our legal system is very corrupt, and the ones that are suffering are the citizens. So the country just needs to bring this type of justice to the families. It's all we are asking. It's all that this is our main fight in this debate.
thank you, Jorge. Very good. So the other team who are against, do you want to start now?
Yes, thank you. I understand the fact that you're saying that many families suffer because I don't know, maybe their son, like you said, was being killed and they don't want to see the murder running away and nothing happening. But what I don't agree with is the fact that you want to put death penalty as the solution. Of course, we all want criminal justice system that's sensible, effective, and something that creates a safe society with less crime. But evidence shows that the death penalty has no impact on public safety. By abolishing or avoiding the death penalty, we as Mexico could focus our time, energy, and we can focus our resources on supporting victims and families harmed by violence instead of putting death penalty. One of my reasons I stand against death penalty being legalized in Mexico is because it can't be undone if new evidence is revealed. What makes the death penalty different or distinct from life in prison is that the judgment can't be reversed. It's obviously a final punishment. However, what if new evidence is discovered and it turns out the prisoner was innocent? There are some facts that in the US, the rate of error is extremely high. Since 1973, about 159 people have been released from death row. With new technologies like DNA testing have played a big role. So if timing and circumstances had been different, prisoners will have died for a crime they did not commit. So imagine how many other death row inmates are at risk for unjust execution. Even if they're not all innocent, a deeper dive into their cases could reveal discrimination, inadequate representation, and other issues that would prove that they didn't receive a fair trial. So, in a society where the legal system can't be relied on for justice, the death penalty is just too serious for a punishment. This organization that's named Amnesty International maintains that the death penalty constitutes a violation of human rights. In particular, the right to life and the right to not to suffer torture or cruel, inhuman, and even degrading treatment or punishment. Of course, these two rights are enshrined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that was adopted in 1948 by the United Nations, which is a rule that's very important in the whole world that we must follow. There's also this phrase that this organization says, which is that death penalty is a symptom of violent culture, but it's not the solution. So there is also this study from the US National Academy of Science that lasted about 36 years, approximate. And this study concluded that there is no evidence that this punishment serves to intimidate or even reduce crime. What I mean is that there's a report from the National Academy of Sciences of the United States that after analyzing all the studies on the subject that have been carried out to date, concludes that there is no evidence that this punishment reduces crimes. Neither it is otherwise, which means that if death penalty is allowed, nothing is going to change. The crimes are not going to decrease or increase. So why kill people? So in my conclusion, I believe that death penalty should not be legalized in Mexico because it is possibly the most extreme punishment. It's cruel, inhuman, and degrading, and it totally goes against human rights. And that's all I gotta say.
I would like to add to what my partner already said about the effect of the death penalty on the percentage of murders in a country, because there's really no evidence of these showing that the death penalty actually decreases the amount of murders in a country. And there are examples like in the United States where the states that do have the death penalty have higher percentage of homicides than those who don't. And also in 2006, Canada abolished the death penalty, and after that, the decade after, the percentage of homicides decreased. And this was released by an article of a group called Amnistía Internacional, which it is a group of around 10 million people that fight for human dignity and human rights. And so I just think that this is an example that shows that, well, you people that are in favor of the death penalty, you have talked how Mexico is a really dangerous country and how the death has been increasing, and how the environment is really insecure, and the death penalty is really not the solution for this. So thank you.
So thank you, Rodrigo, and thank you, Stephanie, for that arguments. I understand really good your points. I really think that it's not a certain argument that the death penalty will brings uh, the rates of the crimes to decrease. So I have a question for you, the team for against. So do you think the Mexican justice system is not ready to have that penalty and have a short margin of error, like you say, like Estados Unidos, like United States, Caro?
Yes, I don't think it should because there are many cases where there's death penalty, and some of the cases are that those people are innocent because maybe there's not enough evidence. Or I believe that in Mexico, since there's a lot of corruption like in the government, I think there could be some that they can move anything just to kill this person that they don't want alive. Like maybe they don't even have much proof and they just want that person dead because they think they did something wrong. I don't think Mexico's ready to have these type of punishments.
Yeah, I'm
I would,
agree. I'm agree.
could I add to what she said? I would say that it's not only the thing that Mexico is ready. I just don't think that this is the solution for it. Because, well, you say that this will make justice to the people that have been victims of this and their families, but also what about the families of these other people of the murderers? They are not actually guilty for the murders. For example, I'm a father. I'm not guilty that my son committed murder, and with the death penalty, and I suffer as well. My well my spouse will suffer as well, and it's not a matter of just killing is the answer. I just think that it's not a solution for it or for anything in the world.
Okay,
Yes.
so
Thank you, Rodrigo. So the other team, do you want to start with your arguments?
If I can, yes.
Yeah.
Well, answering to Carol's argument about death penalty not having like an influence in the number of crimes committed in a year or on a certain time. Well, there's a very good economist named Isaac Elrich that made an statistic analysis that showed that if on a year you made one execution on a death penalty, you can save about 8 lives on a year, just with just one execution. It means this serves as an example for other inmates and other criminals to just don't repeat this pattern of crimes, to re-educate their minds, their self, and to go to a better path, a better path. So yes, I think the main reason uh, of prisons, not just in Mexico, all around the world, the main reason is to in a certain way impact on the life of the inmate and make a change, a better change. So with this research, this great economist showed that with just one execution, you can save about 8 lives. So what I think it's super valuable. And if we can do that, we can do this. I think it will mend the world for us.
I'm gonna add to what Jorge responded to the arguments of both Rodrigo and Carol. First of all, the argument of Rodrigo of Canada. In Mexico, we don't think that we can allow that type of solution because if we leave a less restrictive government, and that's only gonna backfire in more crime because in Canada they have another set of culture and another set of situations, which is why it might work for countries of the first world. But here in the third world, one of the problems is that there is already too much murder. Uh, in Nigeria, in 2017, when the narcos were our most problem, there was a 747% upbringing upbringing of murder in from the last year, from 2016. And the problem is that there is not enough personnel to process this correctly, which is why most of them don't go to the jail or even a trial. Why? Because, for example, there was a body of a woman found in Culiacan in one of the clandestine ditches, and the body was not processed by forensics or by the correct government appropriation. It was just done by a private cemetery, and in this case, what happened was that there were volunteers. They weren't even in trained personnel. And what happened was that they chopped the leg of the woman, of the body of the woman, and by doing that, the case becomes unavailable because it is not by procedure, which is why it becomes invalid. And in here, what we think that this is a problem. In fact, most of the cases they just think that the one that is committing a crime, if you say that we take the human rights away from a person. Well, for a person to go into death penalty or into death row, they have to commit, I don't remember the word, but I can think of uh, constitutional crime in which the punishment, the action is very severe, like first degree murder with intentions, or it goes not only like robbing a store, it goes by something that it has become inhumane. It's not a correct process of thought. And in this, most of the people study show that they cannot be helped because they have psychological problems and they have psychological disorders that come from biological terms. And in these cases, they cannot be redeemed because they will always be on X or Y. And we think that by giving more freedom to the criminals, it's not a good idea here in Mexico because that will just increase. Because right now they think that, oh, okay, whatever, we can escape prison, we can pay our parole, we can pay the officers, we can be set free, and that is indeed the most cases in here, which is why I think the death penalty has shown, and the studies also suggest, both of you claiming that there is no correlation. Well, what I have found in my studies is that there actually is correlation, about like 0.5%, but that 0.5% means 76 people a year deterred from committing crime from one execution, which is why I think that by having a more severe punishment can actually deter and stop crime, because then it won't be as easy as saying, oh, okay, whatever, I will be in prison. Instead, they can actually think like, I can die doing this, and that's very important.
Um,
So,
So
if
who
I
wants
can
to?
add something else,
Sure, Rodrigo. Jorge.
well, I will show you an example of this of what we are defending right here. Is the case of Joaquin Guzman Loera, better known as the Chapo Guzman, that is called the biggest drug lord in the world, or you can call it the biggest assassin in the world if you can, because in his hands he has killed around 100,000 people in all these years, and he just didn't went to prison one time. He went to prison 2 times, and both of them he escaped. O sea, you have the biggest drug lord in the world, and you let him escape not just one but 2 times. I think we, in all the history of the world, we haven't seen this type of corruption, because is corruption. Because if the government wanted him to stay all his life in prison, they could have done it. But again, it's bureaucracy and injustice, and well, people can afford this because okay, he escaped. He is not only bringing drugs to the streets, but he's bringing violence, murder, and he's ruined a lot of life and a lot of families. So I think from the first time that he was captured with this law of death penalty, we could have saved a lot of lives.
Um, I would like to, well, to answer back to that. With all due respect, I understand your point that they have, there's a possibility that criminals and really bad criminals escape from prison. But if you say that, that actually means that the problem does not come from the death penalty. It actually comes from other things in which Mexico has to fix. Like for example, Mexico um, should increase their investment in jails or things like that, because the problem is not the system, is the people who work on it, the people like the people who work at the jails, the people um who are not capable enough to keep track of these criminals. And that's the thing that the government has to fix, not just put on the death penalty. And adding to that, I would like to say that the exact mission of the judicial system and the penitentiary administration of Mexico is to is a safe confinement of the accused persons and to be able to reintegrate them later on the society. And by doing the death penalty, they are just contradicting themselves, because they are not giving them the opportunity to change and to become better persons, which is actually the mission of these prisons.
Well, with what you were saying, I think it has a lot to do with the death penalty, because the great criminals in our country, there's some research that they have a very expensive life on prison, and guess who is paying for that life? Us, the citizens. The ones that got his family murder, they are paying it with the taxes, with the government taxes. So I think it's very insane, but it is true. And if you didn't know, 95% of the case of of phone of criminal calls to call extortion, it's from the really inmates in the prisons. So I think they have the mentality here in Mexico that, yeah, well, I'm going to prison 1 year. In the time people forget about me, I'm going to slip away from the authority, and yeah, I'm gonna be out with no punishment and keeping my lifestyle and criminal life intact. So I think we okay, it's a system problem, but well, we can be a better system with new rules like the death penalty. It will be, yeah, harder. We will be a more punishing way for criminals, but I think at the end they chose this path. Okay, you go to prison for a first time. You go out and you try to do your best in the life that you have. But if you can do that, well, I think going 2-3 times to jail and keeping that lifestyle, I think it's very bad for all the Mexicans that they are really trying to do a better life.
And actually, you said that the taking care of all these people in prison is more costly. Actually, there was an investigation made by the University of Seattle that actually shows that the death penalty has a greater budget in comparison to a normal case in court, because for people to be sentenced to the death penalty, all the processes are take much more time, which means that you have to take more expenses on imprisonment, defense, prosecution, and at the end, the case itself, the death penalty case, is more costly than the common case. So that's not actually for to say a reason to support the death penalty.
From the University of Seattle. So it's based on United States jails, not in Mexico, I think so. Because here in our country, it's what I say. People go to jail and keep that lifestyle by extorting people from inside the jail to get money from them. So I think I have a problem with it, because imagine this scenario: you have your I don't know, your cousin killed, the murderer go to prison, and by a magical thing he goes out, and you maintain him in jail, and then justice wasn't served. So why are we paying taxes? So I think that's unlogical. And from the fact that you gave us, it's I know it's true, but I think it's from the United States, no, not here in Mexico.
If I can reply to this argument that Jorge is giving, I agree with the fact that Rodrigo said that we must spend our resources getting more security in the jail instead of putting money on death penalty, which is very expensive. Do you really think that killing the person who made a lot of crimes and murders will bring everything back, all those crimes? Nothing can be undone. So even if you killed a person who did a lot of murders, those lives that he took away from those poor families, they're not coming back. So why disrespect a rule of human rights when things can't be undone?
Well, sorry.
Yeah, sure, sure. Jorge, you can talk.
Well, I know we can all agree that death is the last resource, the last option, because it's the most important thing for us. But I think, and again, with the case of Joaquin Guzman, he was on the more secure jail in Mexico with all the advanced facilities, with all the technology, and he made to escape from this prison. So we can put the whole army there, and they are going to find a way to escape. So, and comparing our average criminal assassinations with our country, Mexico, compared to the United States that allows the death penalty, the numbers are going to be lower in the United States than here in Mexico. And yeah, in the past decade, the number of assassinations have increased in a very high way. So we need a new policies, because what we are doing right now, it hasn't worked.
I think it was, well, Mauricio said that actually murdering someone is something inhumane. So what difference does it make that the government does it than a people like me, a citizen, kill someone? Isn't it the same action?
Well, in that case, it's not, because if you murder someone by your own volition, it's because you want to end their life, you want vengeance, you might want to do it for pleasure. And in here it's systematical, it's not for pain, because most of the murders here in Mexico come from torture. So the government is not going to torture their prisoners. There's lethal injection, there's electric chair, there's many types of humane ways to kill a human being, because, well, they might not be the best, sure, but it's it's to bring closure to the scene, because what else does it bring having this person? Because there was recently this case, and it was considered a joke, but this death row inmate, well, no, this serial killer was not into the penalty, and he was released because he was too old. He was actually like 76, 86 years old, and it was released in the condition that it was thought too safe to be considered a problem or a serial killer again. And what did this old man come out and do? He started killing again. So he was then put into death row, because imagine this person having a penalty of like over 50 years, and once it's free from prison, going back to what he did, what he was going to do, he came back like it was nothing. And that's after 50 years. So what's the solution? Like, there is no way to deter these commitments. There is no way to stop them from thinking that murder is okay. And it's a very difficult methodical process, because most of them find pleasure in killing their victims, in the screams from the victim, and they also do rape, and they also do torture, and they also do a lot of stuff. But in the government, it's different, because it's to bring closure, it's systematical, it's not for revenge, it's not for causing pain to the victim, or to the family, or to the even the guilty prisoner.
Well, I know it's hard, obviously, for a person to think like that, but killing the other person is not the answer. And you're saying, I really and don't understand that you say that there's a good way of killing someone. I mean, every type of way of killing someone is something not human, something cruel, and obviously something that is a violation of the human rights. And you're saying that we should protect the rights of everyone because everyone needs protection, everyone needs security, but then you're violating that same rights just in another circumstance, which is not, that's really not what how things should be. And obviously, as I said before, um, yes, it's really hard to think that these people are going to change, but that's actually the mission of the judicial system of the country. And if we believe that these people cannot change, is because we need to change the judicial system itself and see a way to be able to reintegrate. Obviously, not as their image will always be damaged because it's really hard to trust these people, but that's the actual mission or point of having these prisons and jails.
Well, I think the moderator wanted to say something before.
No, I just want to add that I am agree with you in many points you have said. Without doubt, the prison system of Mexico should be should have a lot of transparency to make a decision as strong as the death penalty means. But so I wanted to ask about to both teams. So do you think that death penalty will bring fear to the people instead of making the person change?
Um, well, I don't know if it will be bring fear to the criminals because they they know in which steps they are. They know their kind of life, and they know that that is an option. But I can guarantee you that it will make them reflect more about what they are doing and the consequences of their acts. So I think in a certain point they are going to change like his ideals and his well and his a little bit of his lifestyle. I think so.
The answer to the question, from me, it's a no. Because, like I said in my first argument, there is a study that lasted for about 36 years that concludes that there is no evidence that the punishment serves to intimidate or reduce crime or increase, which means that death penalty does not change anything. Many people will do whatever they want, even if there's death penalty. It does not intimidate anyone. It doesn't increase crime nor decrease it. So I think it's just an addition that should not be there.
Well, our team uh, is proposing the death penalty to solve the main problem here in Mexico, that is violence. And you are saying, yeah, let's change the system, let's do different things, but you are not being very objective on what you want to do. So we are firm that the death penalty will bring a change, not only in the criminals, I think in the legal system in Mexico, and it will be have a very effective terms from the moment that it's been imposed here.
I understand what you're saying, but you're basically saying that we must, as Mexico, pay with the same coin. But I don't think if Mexico really needs to increase or improve the all the education, and do you really think that paying with the same coin will make Mexico be a better country?
It's not paying from the same coin. It's just like a way to eradicate violence, deaths, drug lords, because the high profile criminals, they just pay their bail and they go out of prison in less than 5 years, I think so. So we need to create a solution to this problem, because we are not going to sentence to the death row to a man that robbed his morning rocks, or rob or steal a bag of potatoes. I don't know. We are going to impose this new rule to the high drug lords that have committed acts of terrorism, literally terrorism. In United States, um, drug lords are considered terrorists. So I think it's a good solution for our country too, because a man that has killed 100,000 people can have the same rights that the ones that respect the law. With all the also being sincere, I think that being honest
So
with you.
just to answer that, if you kill someone, I'm pretty sure if you kill someone, for example, a drug lord or a criminal, the next day there can be another criminal, and the next day another. So killing someone is not actually the end of that crime or that problem. For example, is you need to go deeper. It's not just because you kill someone, there's going to stop being violence. Because you kill someone, there are not going to be more drugs in the country. So there's actually no point on doing the death penalty.
No, I don't say that it will reduce magical all the crimes in Mexico, but it will create like an idea, an inception in the mind of the criminals to really reflect and think twice before they do again another crime or another killing. So we want to create conscience.
Well, I think it's time to be closing the discussion table. I really like the arguments you have been presenting today. Without doubt, talking about this procedure, it's a great commitment because it talks about an issue as important as a human right, which is the right to life, isn't it? This is why the social factors, like you've been saying, the proofs and the arguments and that, uh, in which Mexico find itself right now, it make it for me unbearable. That is procedure that uh, can be done with the transparency, justice, and the clarity to be done here in Mexico at today. So I think the winner today is the team of Carol and Rodrigo, who are against this because what I said, because I think right now Mexico is not ready to apply this system because of the corruption and because of the social factor that can stop this.
If I can say like a final argument about, well, I think, yeah, we all wanted to defend our lives, and that's very easy. But the hard thing here is to propose an ideal that will eliminate the death penalty and will allow to create a better legal system to, to our country, Mexico. And I think we end the debate without knowing the other option. So yes, I agree with all the points that Carol and Rodrigo told us. But again, we live here with our empty bags.
Undoubtedly, Jorge, it's like I said, it's very difficult to really be in a in a part of the teams, but uh, it's very difficult to me. But so it's time to close the debate. So thank you too much. Thank you for so much to hear the debate. I really like the way the teams presented their arguments, and the answers to them were very clear, very good arguments. So thank you so much, and see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.